Below, on the 85th floor of Sterling Innovations, the silence was broken only by the hum of ventilation and the soft whisper of a janitor's broom. Arthur Jenkins moved through the cavernous office, a solitary figure in a sea of forgotten ambition. His uniform, a simple blue, made him almost invisible against the polished marble and dark wood. He was a silent sentinel, a guardian of cleanliness in a world built on power and money. Evelyn Reed. Her name was etched into the very foundation of this building, a legend whispered in hushed tones from Wall Street to Silicon Valley. She was the CEO, a force of nature, known for her brilliant mind and unyielding will. Her world was a whirlwind of billion-dollar deals, global travel, and magazine covers, a world Arthur could only glimpse through the discarded financial reports he emptied from waste bins. His own world was smaller, simpler, a cramped apartment, a fading photograph of his late wife, and the unwavering light of his daughter, Lily. Every swipe of his mop, every wipe of his cloth, was for her. Her future, her dreams of university, were the quiet fuel that kept his weary body moving through the long, lonely nights. Tonight, the usual quiet held a different weight. Hours earlier, Sterling Innovations had hosted its annual gala, a glittering spectacle of wealth and influence. The air still held the faint, sweet scent of expensive perfume and the ghost of champagne toasts. Arthur knew these post-gala cleanups well. They were always the most demanding, the most chaotic. But also, sometimes, the most revealing, showing a glimpse into the lives of the powerful that he otherwise never saw. He pushed his cart, its wheels a soft rumble, down the executive corridor. This was the hallowed ground, where decisions that swayed markets were made. Even here, the gala had left its mark. Empty crystal flutes balanced precariously, discarded napkins lay like fallen snow, and the general aura of wild celebration lingered. Arthur sighed, a small puff of air in the vast silence. His back gave a familiar throb, a steady ache that had become a part of him over the years. He thought of Lily, how proud she was of her recent scholarship application. He imagined her bright, eager face. That was his purpose. He knew he wouldn't ever sit in a corner office, but he was building something important, something lasting, in his own way. He nourished a small, secret hope that his quiet, honest work would one day clear a path for Lily, a path far brighter than his own. He reached the heavy oak door of Miss Reed's private office. It was slightly ajar, a single lamp left on, casting a soft, golden glow within. He pushed it open gently, a small tremor of unease fluttering in his chest. This was the inner sanctum, the brain of the entire operation. He always took extra care here. Inside, the room was surprisingly disarranged. Papers fanned out on her massive mahogany desk, a half-empty coffee cup, a silk scarf draped carelessly over an expensive ergonomic chair. It spoke of a frantic energy, a last-minute rush, perhaps even a rare moment of distraction from the usually unflappable CEO. Arthur began his cleaning, his movements practiced and precise. He started with the waste bins, a routine he had followed for decades. He always checked them, a habit born of necessity. Most times, it was just crumpled memos or discarded coffee stirrers. Sometimes, a working pen or a forgotten paperclip, which he'd set aside for Lily's school supplies. But tonight, as he carefully tipped the small, leather-bound bin from beneath Miss Reed's desk, something glinted, a flash of brilliant white light, catching the dim glow of the lamp. It wasn't paper. It wasn't plastic. It was hard, cold, and impossibly bright. Arthur's heart gave a sudden, hard thump against his ribs. He carefully reached into the discarded tissues and coffee grounds, his rough fingers brushing against something smooth and metallic. He pulled it out, his breath catching in his throat. It was a ring. Not just any ring. This was a diamond engagement ring, a masterpiece of craftsmanship, sparkling with an almost blinding intensity. The central stone was enormous, easily several carats, surrounded by a halo of smaller, glittering gems, all set in what looked like the finest platinum. It was an object of immense beauty and undoubtedly immense value. Arthur knew, with a chilling certainty, that this was Miss Reed's ring. He had seen her wearing it sometimes, a rare personal touch in her otherwise austere professional attire. He had heard the hushed whispers in the break room about her recent engagement, a story of a powerful union, a merger of empires, not just companies. This ring wasn't merely jewelry. It was a symbol, a promise, a cornerstone of her future. And it was now tangled in the day's forgotten trash. A cold dread settled over him, heavy and suffocating. How could this have happened? Had it slipped off her finger during a moment of hurried work? Had it been accidentally swept into the bin along with other debris? A wave of intense anxiety washed over him. What would Miss Reed do when she realized it was gone? Her reputation for demanding perfection, for swift, decisive action, preceded her like a looming shadow. Arthur imagined the frantic search, the rising panic, the immediate and inescapable suspicion that would fall upon the only person who had been in her office during the night. Him. A simple janitor, found with the CEO's priceless engagement ring. The accusations would be swift, the consequences dire. He could lose everything. His job, his quiet dignity, his ability to provide for Lily. His future, and hers, could shatter in an instant, reduced to dust like the very floors he swept. The injustice of it all, the ease with which a man like him could be dismissed, crushed him. He held the ring in his calloused palm, the cool weight of it feeling like a crushing burden rather than a treasure. The facets of the diamond seemed to stare back at him, tiny, unforgiving eyes reflecting his fear. He looked around the empty, opulent office once more. No one else was here. No one would ever know. A fleeting thought, dark and dangerous, whispered through his mind. This ring, this single, glittering object, could solve all his problems. Lily's university tuition, his endless bills, a chance at a different life, a life free from the constant ache in his back and the quiet weight of being invisible. One quick decision, and he could vanish, leaving this thankless job behind forever. But the thought died as quickly as it arose, choked by a stronger, more enduring force within him. His integrity. It was a silent strength, a bedrock principle he carried through every single day, through every unseen shift. He was Arthur Jenkins, a man who worked hard, who was honest, who lived by a simple, unshakable code. He couldn't steal, not even for Lily. Not even when the temptation was so overwhelming, so alluring in its promise of relief. This was not his path. It never could be. The path of deceit, however tempting, always led to a deeper darkness, a heavier burden than any he currently carried. He would rather break his back working than break his word to himself and to his daughter. He gripped the ring tighter, his mind racing, a frantic flurry of possibilities and dangers. He had to return it, immediately. But how? Simply slipping it onto her desk might make it seem like he was trying to hide his discovery, or even worse, like he had taken it and then guiltily returned it. Handing it to her security team might still lead to endless questions, to suspicion, to the kind of official investigation that could ruin his name and career, even if he was innocent. He needed to ensure it reached her, directly, undeniably, with no room for doubt or accusation. This small, glittering object had suddenly transformed his quiet, unnoticed life into a high-stakes drama. The fate of Miss Reed's happiness, and perhaps even his own freedom, rested precariously in his rough, trembling hands. A janitor, an invisible man, was about to step out of the comforting shadows and into the blinding spotlight. He held a secret that could either destroy him or, in a way he couldn't yet begin to imagine, change his life forever. The morning light was barely breaking over the eastern horizon, painting the sky in soft hues of rose and gray. But Arthur knew, with a profound sense of foreboding and a flicker of defiant hope, that this day would be unlike any other. The CEO's reaction was a complete unknown, a gamble he had to take, a leap of faith into a terrifying void. The only certainty was that his world, and perhaps even hers, was about to be irrevocably altered by a misplaced symbol of love and a janitor's steadfast integrity. He carefully wrapped the ring in a clean, soft handkerchief he pulled from his pocket, a relic from his wedding day. He placed it gently inside the breast pocket of his uniform, feeling its solid, comforting weight against his heart. It was a promise, both to Miss Reed and to himself. He would wait. He would finish his shift, performing every task with his usual diligence, but with a new, unsettling tension coiled in his gut. He would be there when Miss Reed arrived. He would face her, explain what he found, and offer her the ring. The thought of standing before Evelyn Reed, the formidable CEO, made his stomach clench. He had only ever seen her from a distance, a blur of expensive fabric and purposeful stride. He knew her reputation for being sharp, uncompromising, rarely showing emotion. What would her face show when he presented her with her lost treasure? Relief? Suspicion? Anger? He couldn't guess. He could only prepare himself for whatever storm might come. He continued his rounds, his movements now more deliberate, each action a silent affirmation of his purpose. He polished the conference table, wiped down the glass, partitions, and emptied the remaining waste bins. Every task felt imbued with a new significance, a countdown to the moment of truth. The building was slowly waking up around him. Lights began to flicker on in distant offices. The gentle hum of the air conditioning seemed to grow louder, more insistent. The first security guard, a burly man named Frank, would arrive soon, followed by the early bird executives, clutching their coffee cups and their briefcases. Arthur practiced his words in his head. Simple, direct, honest. Miss Reed, I found this in your office waste bin. No embellishments, no excuses, just the plain, uncomfortable truth. He didn't want pity, he wanted understanding. He wanted to be seen, just for a moment, not as the invisible janitor, but as an honest man doing the right thing. He imagined her piercing gaze, her analytical mind assessing him, looking for any hint of deceit. He steeled himself, drawing on years of quiet resilience. He had nothing to hide. The sun finally broke through the clouds, painting streaks of gold across the eastern windows. The city below began to stir, a symphony of horns and engines replacing the night silence. The building was coming alive. Arthur could hear the distant clatter of someone setting up the coffee machines in the main lobby. Soon, the elevators would begin their steady ascent, bringing the powerful and the privileged to their daily routines. And among them, Evelyn Reed. His moment was approaching. The small, heavy object in his breast pocket felt like a ticking clock. His future, and the unknown reaction of the powerful woman he was about to face, hung in the balance, suspended like a diamond in the dawn light. He felt a strange mixture of fear and calm resolve. This was it. There was no turning back. The glass doors of Sterling Innovation swished open, admitting the first wave of the morning rush. Executives, sleek in their tailored suits and sharp dresses, flowed into the lobby, their voices a low murmur that steadily grew louder. The scent of fresh coffee began to mingle with the lingering perfume of the gala. Arthur finished wiping down the reception desk, his movements calm and deliberate, a stark contrast to the frantic beat of his heart. The ring, nestled in his pocket, felt like a burning ember. He saw her then, Evelyn Reed. She stepped out of a sleek black car, her presence immediate and commanding. Even from a distance, her aura of authority was unmistakable. She wore a perfectly tailored charcoal suit, her dark hair pulled back in a severe, elegant bun. Her expression was focused, already miles ahead, undoubtedly strategizing the day's conquests. She walked with a swift, purposeful stride, her security detail, a silent shadow, a few paces behind her. As she entered the lobby, her eyes, sharp and intelligent, swept across the space, taking in everything and nothing. They passed over Arthur, acknowledging his presence only as part of the background, a moving piece of the building's furniture. Arthur knew this was his moment. He took a deep breath, the metallic taste of fear in his mouth. He straightened his shoulders, trying to appear as inconspicuous as possible while simultaneously positioning himself to intercept her. He started to move towards the elevator bank, where she was heading, pushing his cleaning cart ahead of him like a shield. As she approached the private executive elevator, the doors already beginning to open for her, Arthur cleared his throat. It came out as a reedy sound, barely audible over the chatter. He tried again, his voice a little stronger this time. "Miss Reed?" Evelyn paused, her hand already reaching for the elevator button. Her head turned slowly, her gaze fixing on Arthur. Her expression was not harsh, but utterly devoid of recognition, a blank slate of polite inquiry. Her eyes, the color of cold steel, held no warmth, no curiosity, only a faint impatience at being delayed. The security guard, a burly man named Harris, took a half-step forward, his hand subtly moving towards his side. Arthur felt a flush creep up his neck. He was just the janitor. He knew his place, but he also knew what he held. He met her gaze, his own eyes, tired but honest, holding steady. "Miss Reed," he said again, his voice gaining a surprising firmness. I found something in your office." Evelyn's perfectly arched eyebrow rose a fraction of an inch. A flicker of annoyance, perhaps, at this unexpected interruption from someone she didn't know. She obviously expected a complaint, a forgotten item of lesser value, or perhaps even a request for something mundane. "Indeed?" she said, her voice smooth and even, betraying no emotion. "What is it, Arthur?" She knew his name, a small detail, but it surprised him. She knew the names of her staff, even the invisible ones. Arthur reached into his breast pocket, his fingers fumbling slightly as he pulled out the handkerchief. He unwrapped it carefully, revealing the ring. The diamonds caught the overhead lights, exploding into 1,000 tiny rainbows. He held it out on his palm, the precious object gleaming against the rough skin of his hand. "This, Miss Reed," he said, his voice quiet but clear. "I found it in your waste bin this morning while cleaning your office." The change in Evelyn Reed was instantaneous, startling. The polite, distant mask shattered. Her eyes widened, a gasp escaping her lips, a raw, unbidden sound. Her gaze locked onto the ring, then flew to her left hand, which was conspicuously bare. The air around them seemed to crackle with sudden tension. Harris, the security guard, tensed, his eyes darting between Evelyn, Arthur, and the glittering ring. "My ring," Evelyn whispered, her voice barely audible, a profound shock replacing her usual composure. She reached out, her hand trembling slightly, her fingers hovering over the diamonds. Her composure, her legendary steel, had vanished. For a fleeting moment, she looked utterly vulnerable, like any other woman who had lost something deeply personal. Arthur simply held it steady. "Yes, Miss Reed, I believe it is yours." She took the ring, her touch almost reverent. She stared at it, turning it over in her fingers as if to confirm its reality, then slid it onto her finger. It settled perfectly into place, a flash of white fire against her skin. A slow, relieved breath escaped her, a visible relaxation of her rigid posture. She closed her eyes for a brief moment, as if warding off a dizzy spell. When she opened them, they were still filled with surprise, but a new emotion had entered them, an intense gratitude. "Arthur," Evelyn said, her voice stronger now, but laced with a genuine emotion he had never expected to hear from her. "Thank you. Thank you so much. I I didn't even realize it was gone." Her eyes met his, and this time, there was recognition. A direct acknowledgement that made Arthur feel seen, truly seen, for the first time in his long career at Sterling Innovations. "I must have knocked it off my desk last night, during the gala after-party. I was distracted, going over some final merger documents. It must have fallen straight into the bin." She paused, her gaze sweeping over his tired face, his worn uniform. She seemed to be re-evaluating him, taking in the honesty in his eyes, the simple integrity radiating from him. "You found it in the trash," she repeated, almost to herself, the weight of the statement sinking in. "And you didn't hesitate." Arthur shook his head. "It wasn't mine to keep, Miss Reed. It's yours." Evelyn studied him for a long moment, a silence stretching between them as the sounds of the bustling lobby faded into the background. She was known for her ability to read people, to discern character in an instant, and in Arthur, she saw something rare and profound. "Most people," she finally said, her voice softer than he had ever heard it, "would have kept it, or at least, tried to sell it. This ring it's worth a fortune, Arthur. It's a custom piece, one of a kind." Arthur simply shrugged, a small, humble gesture. "It's not about the money, Miss Reed. It's about what's right." A small, almost imperceptible smile touched Evelyn's lips. It wasn't the public, forced smile he sometimes saw on television. It was genuine, a softening of her usually stern features. "Indeed," she murmured. "It is about what's right." She glanced at her security guard, Harris, who had relaxed his stance, a faint look of admiration on his face as he watched Arthur. "Harris, please ensure Arthur has access to my office any time he needs it. And make sure he's escorted, if necessary, not just for his safety, but to make sure no one else disturbs him during his duties." Harris nodded, a hint of surprise in his own eyes. Evelyn then turned back to Arthur. "Come to my office at noon today. Arthur, we need to talk. Properly." She didn't ask, she commanded, but the tone was different now, infused with a new respect. "And please, take the rest of the morning off. Go home, get some rest. I'll make sure your shift is covered. You've earned it." Arthur was stunned. A meeting with Evelyn Reed, the CEO, and time off. He hadn't had an unscheduled day off in years. He felt a wave of relief, followed by a surge of nervous energy. "Thank you, Miss Reed," he managed, a lump in his throat. I appreciate that." Evelyn gave him a nod, a brief, sharp gesture that nonetheless conveyed her sincerity. "No, Arthur. I appreciate you." With that, she turned and stepped into the waiting elevator, the doors closing silently behind her. Her security guard followed, but not before giving Arthur a respectful nod of his own. Arthur stood there for a moment, the bustling lobby noise slowly filtering back into his awareness. He felt a lightness he hadn't experienced in years. The heavy weight of the ring was gone, replaced by a strange sense of anticipation. He looked down at his calloused hands, then up, at the closed elevator doors. Evelyn Reed had seen him, not just as a janitor, but as a man of integrity, and she wanted to talk. His mind raced with possibilities, hopes he hadn't dared to entertain in decades. What could she want? A bonus? A commendation? Or something more? The uncertainty was thrilling, terrifying. He walked over to his cleaning cart, his movements suddenly lighter. He pushed it towards the service elevator, his usual route, but everything felt different. The building, the people, even the air itself, seemed to vibrate with a new energy. He passed by a group of junior executives, chatting idly about the gala. One of them, a young man named Philip, barely glanced at Arthur, his conversation about stock options uninterrupted. Arthur realized how truly invisible he had been all these years, a phantom in the corporate machine. But now, at least to Evelyn Reed, he was visible. He was a person. He reached the service elevator and pressed the button. As he waited, he thought about Lily. He couldn't wait to tell her. Not about the ring, not yet, but about the meeting, about the fact that the CEO, the most powerful woman in the company, wanted to speak with him. He imagined her eyes widening, her disbelief, and then her pride. That thought alone was enough to fill him with a warmth that spread through his entire body, chasing away the morning's chill. He rode the elevator down to the locker room, his mind buzzing. He changed out of his uniform, folding it carefully, his hands still feeling the ghost of the diamond ring. He walked out of the building into the growing morning light, the city now fully awake, a vibrant symphony of life. The traffic was building, taxis honking, buses rumbling past. He breathed deeply, the crisp morning air filling his lungs. He felt invigorated, alive in a way he hadn't in a long time. He decided not to go straight home. He needed a moment to process, to think. He walked to a small park nearby, a patch of green amidst the concrete jungle. He found a bench under a sprawling oak tree, its leaves already turning golden with the approach of autumn. He sat down, watching the squirrels chase each other up the trunk, listening to the distant sounds of the city. The tension of the morning slowly began to dissipate, replaced by a quiet excitement. What did Evelyn Reed mean by properly? Was it a formal reprimand for not immediately reporting the find? No, her tone had been too appreciative, too grateful. Was it a reward? A bonus check? That would certainly help with Lily's tuition. But even that felt too simple, too transactional for the profound shift he had witnessed in Evelyn's demeanor. There had been something more in her eyes, a look of genuine respect that went beyond monetary value. He thought back to her words, "It's about what's right." Those words had resonated with him deeply. He had lived his entire life by that principle, often to his own detriment. He had chosen the harder, more honest path, even when the easier, more lucrative one beckoned. And now, it seemed, that path had led him to this unexpected moment, to a meeting with one of the most powerful women in the country. He pulled out his worn flip phone and dialed Lily's number. She picked up on the third ring, her voice bright and cheerful. "Hi, Dad. Everything okay?" "Everything's fine, sweetheart," Arthur said, a smile spreading across his face. "Better than fine, actually. I just wanted to let you know. I won't be home until later today. I have a meeting." "A meeting?" Lily asked, curiosity lacing her voice. "What kind of meeting?" Arthur chuckled. "It's with Miss Reed, the CEO." There was a beat of stunned silence on the other end of the line. Then, Lily's voice, full of incredulous excitement. "The Evelyn Reed? Dad, what did you do?" Arthur laughed, a genuine, hearty sound that surprised even himself. "I just did my job, Lily. And I guess, for once, someone noticed." He couldn't help but feel a surge of pride. For the first time, he wasn't just telling his daughter he was working hard. He was telling her his hard work had been seen. And that, in itself, felt like a reward. He knew the path ahead was uncertain, but for the first time in a very long time, Arthur Jenkins felt a glimmer of hope, a sense that his quiet life might finally be taking an extraordinary turn. The meeting at noon loomed large, a pivotal point in his life, and he felt ready for it. Whatever Miss Reed had in store for him, he would face it with the same quiet dignity and unwavering honesty that had led him to this moment. The clock in the Sterling Innovations lobby ticked with an almost unbearable slowness. Arthur, dressed in his best, though slightly faded, suit, sat on a plush sofa, trying to appear nonchalant. His hands were clasped tightly in his lap, his palms damp with nervous anticipation. It was almost noon. He had arrived an hour early, unable to sit still at home. The sheer enormity of the situation had only grown in the quiet hours of the morning. A meeting with Evelyn Reed. What would she say? What would she offer? What did she truly want? At precisely 11:58 a.m., Harris, the security guard, approached him. "Arthur? Miss Reed will see you now." His voice was respectful, a subtle shift from the way he had addressed Arthur just that morning. Arthur nodded, his throat suddenly dry. He rose, smoothing down his jacket. He followed Harris to the private executive elevator, the same one Evelyn had taken earlier. This time, it felt different. He was not pushing a cleaning cart. He was being escorted, an invited guest, into the inner sanctum. The elevator whisked them upwards, the numbers on the display racing past. Each floor felt like another step into an unknown future. The doors opened silently onto the executive floor. It was even quieter here than in the lobby, the air thick with unspoken power. Harris led him down the gleaming corridor, past hushed offices and closed doors, until they reached Evelyn Reed's office. The oak door, which had been slightly ajar that morning, was now fully open, a silent invitation. Harris gestured for him to enter, giving him a brief, encouraging nod. Arthur stepped inside. The office was exactly as he had left it, now pristine and organized, a stark contrast to the slight disarray he had found hours earlier. Evelyn Reed stood by the massive floor-to-ceiling window, gazing out at the sprawling city below. The sunlight streamed in, outlining her sharp silhouette. She turned as he entered, her expression unreadable. She still wore the same charcoal suit, but her hair was now down, falling in a sleek cascade around her shoulders, softening her features slightly. The diamond ring gleamed on her finger. "Arthur," Evelyn said, her voice calm and measured. She gestured to a comfortable leather armchair opposite her desk. "Please, have a seat." Arthur sat, feeling the plush leather beneath him. He resisted the urge to fidget, keeping his gaze steady on her. Evelyn walked around her desk, settling into her executive chair. She looked at him for a long moment, her eyes scrutinizing, assessing. "Arthur," she began, "I want to start by reiterating my gratitude. What you did this morning, it wasn't just finding a lost item. It was an act of profound integrity. That ring means a great deal to me, personally. It's not just its monetary value. It's a symbol of a future I'm building, both professionally and personally." She leaned forward slightly, her gaze unwavering. In this city, in this industry, people are often driven by greed, by what they can take, what they can gain, regardless of how it affects others. To find someone like you, who instinctively does what is right, without thought of personal gain, it's rare, and it's valuable. Arthur swallowed, his throat dry. He didn't know how to respond to such praise. I just did what anyone should do, Miss Reed," he said, his voice a little shaky. Evelyn shook her head slowly. "No, Arthur. Most people wouldn't. I've seen enough in my career to know that. What you demonstrated this morning is a quality that cannot be taught. It's intrinsic. It's character." She paused, her eyes narrowing slightly, as if she were thinking deeply. "I've been thinking about this all morning. About Sterling Innovations. About our values. And about you." Arthur felt a spark of hope, a flutter of excitement. This was more than just a thank you. "Arthur," Evelyn continued, her voice firm, "I believe that integrity is the bedrock of any truly successful enterprise. And I realized this morning that we haven't been valuing it enough within our own walls. We focus so much on talent, on ambition, on innovation, all important, of course. But without a foundation of honesty and trustworthiness, it all crumbles." She stood up and walked to the window again, her back to him, her gaze sweeping across the city. "I'm always looking for ways to improve this company, to make it stronger, more resilient. And sometimes, The solutions are found in the most unexpected places. Or, in the most unexpected people. She turned back to face him, her eyes locking onto his with an intensity that took his breath away. Arthur, I want to offer you a new position at Sterling Innovations. Arthur blinked, utterly speechless. A new position? He hadn't dared to dream so boldly. He had expected a bonus, maybe a promotion within the cleaning staff, perhaps even a commendation. But a new position? His mind raced, struggling to comprehend. Evelyn saw his shock. A small, knowing smile played on her lips. I understand this might come as a surprise. Let me explain. I'm creating a new role. It's called Director of Employee Relations and Ethical Oversight. This person will be responsible for ensuring that our corporate values, particularly integrity and respect, are not just words on a plaque, but truly lived within this company at every level. From the mailroom to the executive suite. She continued, this role will involve mentoring new hires, developing training programs on ethical conduct, and most importantly, being a confidential point of contact for employees who witness ethical breaches or feel they are being treated unfairly. It requires someone with absolute trust, unwavering integrity, and a deep understanding of what it means to be part of the Sterling Innovations family at every level. She paused, her gaze fixed on Arthur. Someone, Arthur, who sees things that others miss. Someone who knows the pulse of this building, not just the boardrooms, but the break rooms, the service tunnels, the quiet corners where the real work often happens. Arthur was reeling. The weight of her words, the magnitude of the offer, pressed down on him. Director of Employee Relations? He, Arthur Jenkins, a janitor for 40 years? He had no corporate experience, no fancy degrees. He was a man of simple work, simple life. He found his voice, a whisper. Miss Reed, I'm just a janitor. I don't have a degree. I don't have experience in management. I wouldn't even know where to begin. The honesty was raw, exposing his deepest insecurities. Evelyn listened patiently, her expression softening. Arthur, you have something far more valuable than any degree or corporate experience. You have a moral compass that points true north, always. You have empathy, born from years of observing people, of understanding their struggles without judgment. You have the respect of every single person who has ever had even a fleeting interaction with you, even if they never said it aloud. You have seen the inner workings of this company from every angle, from the ground up. You know where the dirt truly collects, metaphorically speaking, and you know how to clean it up. She walked back to her desk and picked up a thick folder. As for the lack of experience or a degree, that's where Sterling Innovations comes in. We will provide you with all the training you need. Leadership courses, communication workshops, even a sponsored degree program if you desire. We will build a team around you. Your job won't be to suddenly become a corporate executive overnight. Your job will be to bring your unique perspective, your integrity, your innate sense of fairness, and to help us integrate those qualities into the fabric of our company culture. Evelyn opened the folder, revealing a contract. The salary for this position, she said, her voice dropping slightly, is significantly more than you currently earn, Arthur. Enough to ensure your daughter, Lily, can attend any university she chooses without financial burden. Enough to ensure you can live comfortably, without the constant worry that has shadowed your life. Arthur's breath hitched. Lily, her name, spoken so casually, yet with such profound impact. The image of her bright, hopeful face flashed in his mind. This wasn't just about him anymore. It was about her. The impossible dream, now suddenly within reach. His eyes pricked with tears, but he blinked them back, refusing to show such vulnerability to the formidable CEO. Think about it, Arthur, Evelyn said, her voice gentle now. This isn't just a job offer. It's an opportunity for Sterling Innovations to become a better, stronger, more principled company. And it's an opportunity for you to finally step into the light, to make a difference that goes far beyond cleaning floors, to inspire others, to be a living example of what true character looks like. She pushed the folder across the desk towards him. Take your time. Read through the contract. Talk to Lily. But I hope you'll consider it seriously. This company needs you, Arthur. More than you know. Arthur looked at the contract, a thick stack of papers detailing a future he couldn't have imagined a few hours ago. Director, ethical oversight. A salary that would erase decades of worry. It was overwhelming, unbelievable. He felt a mix of doubt and elation. Could he do it? Could a simple janitor truly step into such a role? He looked up at Evelyn, her face calm and expectant. He saw no pity, only conviction in her eyes. She genuinely believed in him. That belief, coming from a woman like Evelyn Reed, was a powerful force. It started to chip away at his self-doubt. He remembered Lily's eager face, her dreams. He remembered his own quiet dream, long dormant, of doing something more, something that truly mattered. This was it. This was his chance. He took a deep breath. Miss Reed, he said, his voice gaining strength. I am honored. Truly. I just need a little time to process this. And to talk to my daughter. Evelyn nodded. Of course. Take the rest of the day. Call me tomorrow morning with your decision. My assistant will have your new contact information. She stood up, signaling the end of the meeting. Thank you for your honesty this morning, Arthur. It has opened my eyes to possibilities I hadn't considered. Arthur rose, feeling a profound sense of gratitude and respect for this remarkable woman. He had come to return a ring, fearing the worst. He was leaving with an offer that would change his life and Lily's forever. He shook her hand, his rough palm contrasting with her smooth, elegant one. Her grip was firm, surprisingly strong. As he walked out of the office, down the executive corridor, everything looked different. The polished floors gleamed not just with wax, but with possibility. The hushed offices now seemed to hold not just secrets of power, but also promises of change. He passed Harris, who offered him a knowing smile. He rode the elevator down, his mind still reeling. The numbers flashing past seemed to represent not floors, but years. 40 years of quiet, unnoticed labor. And now, this. He felt a surge of emotion, a mix of relief, disbelief, and a thrilling sense of purpose. He was no longer just Arthur Jenkins, the janitor. He was Arthur Jenkins, a man on the cusp of a new beginning, entrusted with a vital role, not just for himself, but for an entire company. His integrity, once an unseen virtue, had become his greatest asset, a bridge to a future he never dared to imagine. Arthur practically floated out of the Sterling Innovations building, the afternoon sun feeling warmer, brighter than it had ever been. He clutched the folder containing the contract, its weight both grounding and exhilarating. He didn't hail a taxi or take the bus. He walked, needing the physical exertion to process the whirlwind of emotions. He walked through the bustling streets, past storefronts and coffee shops, everything seeming sharper, more vibrant. He found himself back at the park, the same bench under the old oak tree. The squirrels were still busy, chattering away, seemingly oblivious to the seismic shift that had just occurred in his life. He pulled out his worn flip phone and dialed Lily's number. He had to tell her. She picked up almost instantly, her voice tinged with a mixture of excitement and concern. Lily said, "Dad, what happened? Are you okay? You said you had a meeting with Miss Reed." Arthur chuckled, a deep, joyful sound. "Lily, I'm more than okay. I have some news. Big news." Lily said, "What is it? Don't tease me, Dad." Arthur took a deep breath, trying to compose himself. Miss Reed offered me a new job, a director position, Director of Employee Relations and Ethical Oversight. There was a stunned silence on the other end, so profound Arthur wondered if the call had dropped. Then, a squeal that almost made him drop the phone. Lily said, "A director? Dad? You're kidding. What does that even mean?" Her voice was breathless, filled with utter disbelief. Arthur said, It means I'll be helping the company make sure everyone is treated fairly and that we all act with integrity. And she said they'll train me, Lily. And the salary, sweetheart, it's enough. Enough for your university, for everything." He heard Lily sniffle on the other end, a sound that tore at his heart. Lily said, "Dad, are you crying?" Arthur cleared his throat, a tear escaping despite himself. No, no, just happy tears, Lilybug. So happy. Lily said, "Oh, Dad, that's incredible. I always knew you deserved more. You're the most honest, kindest person I know." Her voice choked up. Arthur said, "And you, my smart girl, are going to college. Anywhere you want." They talked for a long time, the words tumbling out, filling the air with shared joy and a profound sense of destiny. Lily was ecstatic, already planning her courses, her dreams suddenly tangible. Arthur felt a weight lift from his shoulders that he hadn't realized he carried, a burden of worry for her future that had been a constant companion for years. After he hung up, Arthur sat for a while longer, letting the enormity of it all sink in. Director of Employee Relations. It sounded so grand, so official. He, Arthur Jenkins, the invisible janitor, was about to become a vital part of Sterling Innovations, not just a background fixture. It was a dizzying thought, but also an inspiring one. Evelyn Reed saw something in him that no one else had, something he hadn't even fully seen in himself. The next morning, Arthur arrived at Sterling Innovations, not in his blue uniform, but in his best suit. His steps were lighter, his head held a little higher. He felt a nervous flutter, but it was mixed with a newfound confidence. He was no longer just going to work. He was going to start a new chapter. He went straight to the reception desk, where a different receptionist, a young woman with bright eyes, greeted him. The receptionist said, "Good morning, Mr. Jenkins. Miss Reed is expecting you. Her assistant will take you up, Mr. Jenkins." The formality felt strange, yet fitting. He was led to Evelyn's office floor, where a sleek young woman, Miss Davies, met him with a warm smile. Miss Davies said, "Good morning, Mr. Jenkins. Miss Reed is in a meeting, but she asked me to show you to your new office. It's just down the hall." Arthur followed her, his heart pounding. His new office. He pictured a small, utilitarian space, perhaps a converted storage closet. But Miss Davies led him to a spacious corner office, with a large window overlooking the city, a comfortable desk, and even a small sitting area. It wasn't as grand as Evelyn's, but it was far more than he could have ever imagined. Miss Davies said, "This will be your office, Mr. Jenkins. We've already set up your computer and a temporary phone. Your team will be introduced to you later this week. Miss Reed has already cleared your first week for onboarding and training sessions. We have a full schedule for you, starting with a leadership seminar this afternoon." Arthur walked into the office, his hand trailing across the polished surface of the desk. He looked out the window at the panoramic view of the city. This was his. He could hardly believe it. He took a seat in the plush executive chair, feeling almost overwhelmed. He was no longer looking up at the world from the ground floor. He was looking down at it, with a new perspective. Over the next few weeks, Arthur immersed himself in his new role. The learning curve was steep, filled with new terminology, complex organizational charts, and endless meetings. He attended leadership seminars, communication workshops, and even started an evening course in business ethics, fully sponsored by Sterling Innovations. It was challenging, sometimes daunting, but he embraced every moment with a quiet determination. He learned to navigate spreadsheets, to conduct performance reviews, to draft policy documents, but more importantly, he learned to lead. He quickly discovered that Evelyn Reed's vision for his role was deeply serious. He wasn't just a figurehead. He was given real authority, real responsibility. He started by simply listening. He spent hours talking to employees at every level, from the mailroom staff to the mid-level managers. He learned about their concerns, their frustrations, their hopes. He became a trusted confidant, a neutral party who genuinely cared about their well-being. His reputation for honesty, cultivated over decades as the invisible janitor, served him well. People trusted him. They knew he would listen without judgment and act with fairness. One day, Arthur found himself in a particularly difficult situation. A young, ambitious manager named Ben was accused of taking credit for a junior employee's ideas. The junior employee, a shy woman named Maya, was terrified to speak up, fearing for her career. Arthur remembered his own years of being overlooked, of having his quiet contributions go unnoticed. He knew this feeling intimately. Arthur said, "Maya, tell me everything. I promise you, your job is safe. My only concern is fairness." Maya, emboldened by Arthur's gentle demeanor and his reputation, finally poured out her story, detailing how Ben had systematically undermined her, presenting her work as his own. Arthur listened intently, taking careful notes. He then called Ben into his office. Ben, confident and slightly arrogant, walked in with a dismissive air, clearly underestimating Arthur. Ben said, "Mr. Jenkins, I'm not sure why I'm here. Is there a problem?" Arthur looked at him calmly. Arthur said, "Ben, we have a problem with integrity. Specifically, with attributing credit where credit is due." He laid out Maya's detailed account, backed by emails and project timelines that Maya had carefully documented. Ben's confident facade slowly crumbled as Arthur presented the irrefutable evidence. Arthur said, "At Sterling Innovations, we value innovation and ambition, but we value integrity and respect even more. Taking credit for another's work is not only unethical, it undermines the very trust we rely on as a team. It creates a toxic environment." Ben squirmed, trying to offer weak excuses, but Arthur held firm. Arthur said, "I'm not here to punish you, Ben. I'm here to ensure fairness and to help you understand the impact of your actions. We will be implementing a new policy for project attribution, and you will be attending mandatory ethics training. Furthermore, Maya will be officially recognized for her contributions, and her role in the upcoming project will be elevated to reflect her true impact." Ben, humbled and chastened, finally nodded. Ben said, "Understood, Mr. Jenkins. I made a mistake. Thank you for giving me a chance to correct it." Arthur watched Ben leave, then called Maya into his office. He saw the relief, the quiet joy, in her eyes as he explained the resolution. She thanked him profusely, her voice filled with genuine gratitude. Maya said, "Thank you, Mr. Jenkins. You've changed everything for me. I almost gave up." Arthur smiled. "No, Maya. You changed everything for yourself by having the courage to speak up. My job is just to make sure you're heard." This was the core of his new role. Not just enforcing rules, but fostering a culture where people felt valued, respected, and heard. He was bridging the gap between the executive suite and the everyday struggles of the employees, bringing empathy and fairness to the corporate landscape. His relationship with Evelyn Reed grew, too. She often sought his counsel, valuing his insights and his grounded perspective. She relied on his judgment, recognizing his unique ability to connect with employees and identify unspoken issues. Their discussions often went beyond corporate policy, delving into the true meaning of leadership, the challenges of building a sustainable, ethical company. One afternoon, Evelyn invited Arthur to join her for lunch in the executive dining room. It was a rare occurrence, a signal of his growing importance. They sat at a table overlooking the city, the view magnificent. Evelyn said, "Arthur, I wanted to tell you how impressed I am with your work. The feedback I'm getting from employees is overwhelmingly positive. You've brought a human touch to a side of the business that was sorely lacking it." Arthur said, "Thank you, Miss Reed. I'm just trying to make a difference." Evelyn smiled, a warm, genuine smile. Evelyn said, "You are a huge difference. You know, I truly believe that ring being lost and you finding it was more than just luck. It was a revelation. It forced me to see what truly matters and to see you." She paused, her gaze thoughtful. "My fiancé," he said to me that day, "you almost lost more than just a ring, Evelyn. You almost lost your faith in humanity." And he was right. Your actions restored that faith. Arthur felt a lump in his throat. He had come so far from the quiet janitor, scrubbing floors in the dead of night. His integrity, once a quiet, private virtue, was now a guiding force within a major corporation. His life had been transformed, not by a sudden stroke of luck, but by the quiet, unwavering commitment to doing what was right. And in doing so, he had, in turn, transformed a part of the world around him. He had become visible, not just to Evelyn Reed, but to himself and to hundreds of employees who now looked to him as a beacon of fairness and respect. Years passed. The towering glass and steel of Sterling Innovations continued to dominate the city skyline. But within its walls, a profound transformation had taken root. Arthur Jenkins, once the invisible janitor, was now a cornerstone of the company's culture. His title, Director of Employee Relations and Ethical Oversight, had evolved, too. He was now Vice President of Corporate Integrity, a position that carried immense weight and respect throughout the entire organization. He had even, at Evelyn Reed's insistence, earned an executive MBA, which he proudly displayed in his office, though he often joked that his real education came from the broom closet and the break room. His corner office, once the place of intimidating novelty, now felt like a second home. The panoramic view of the city was no longer a distant spectacle but a daily reminder of the impact he could have, the lives he touched. He had built a team, a diverse group of passionate individuals who shared his commitment to fairness and respect. Together, they had implemented groundbreaking policies, fostered a culture of open communication, and created a workplace where every voice mattered. From the newest intern to the most seasoned executive, the Arthur Jenkins Initiative for Ethical Leadership was now a mandatory program for all new hires, his story woven into the very fabric of Sterling Innovations' identity. Lily, his daughter, had indeed graduated from university, a scholarship student who went on to pursue a career in education. Inspired by her father's quiet strength and unwavering dedication, Arthur had walked her down the aisle at her wedding, his heart overflowing with pride, knowing he had given her the life he had always dreamed for her. His small apartment, a warm but cramped space, had long been replaced by a comfortable house, filled with new memories and the joyous laughter of his grandchildren, who loved to hear the story of Grandpa Arthur and the CEO's lost ring. Evelyn Reed remained his closest ally and friend within the company. Their relationship had deepened over the years, built on mutual respect and shared values. She often remarked that bringing Arthur into the executive fold was the smartest decision she had ever made, not just for the company's bottom line, but for its very soul. Sterling Innovations had become known, not just for its innovative products and financial success, but for its unparalleled ethical standards, a direct result of Arthur's influence. One brisk autumn morning, Arthur found himself in Evelyn's office, sipping coffee as they reviewed a new ethical sourcing proposal. The diamond ring, now a familiar sight, glittered on Evelyn's finger. Evelyn said, "This looks good, Arthur. Solid. You've really thought of everything." Arthur smiled. Arthur said, "Just trying to live up to the standard you set, Evelyn." Evelyn laughed softly. Evelyn said, "Hardly, my friend. You reminded me of the standard I almost forgot. You showed me that the most valuable asset a company can possess isn't capital or intellectual property. It's character." She leaned back, her gaze thoughtful. "Do you ever think about that morning, Arthur? How different things could have been?" Arthur looked out the window, at the vibrant city below. Arthur said, "Every day, Evelyn, I think about the choice I had, and I'm profoundly grateful for the path I took." "And for the chance you gave me," Evelyn said. "The chance was always yours, Arthur. I just had the wisdom to see it. You were always a vice president of corporate integrity, just waiting for the right moment to emerge from the shadows." He had transformed from the unseen janitor to a revered leader, a testament to the power of unwavering honesty. His life was a living embodiment of the truth that true worth is not measured by titles or wealth, but by the integrity of one's actions and the depth of one's character. He had proven that being overlooked did not mean being unimportant, and that the quiet virtues could, in the right circumstances, shine brighter than any diamond. His journey was a powerful reminder that sometimes the most extraordinary changes spring from the simplest acts of doing what is right, even when no one is watching. It was a story not just of a lost ring, but of a man found. A man who, by choosing integrity over temptation, had not only saved a valuable jewel but had unearthed his own invaluable potential, forever altering the trajectory of his life and the legacy of an entire corporation. And so, the story of Arthur Jenkins became a legend within Sterling Innovations, whispered in new employee orientations and shared in hushed tones of admiration. It was a story that reminded everyone that integrity, no matter how small the act, can ripple outwards, transforming lives and reshaping destinies. It proved that true leadership doesn't always come from the top. Sometimes, it rises from the most unexpected places, brought forth by the quiet dignity of an honest heart. So, what do you think about Arthur's story? Have you ever witnessed someone make a selfless choice that had unexpected, life-changing consequences? Perhaps you've been in a situation where you chose the harder, more ethical path, and it paid off in ways you never imagined. Or maybe you've been the recipient of someone else's quiet integrity, and it made a profound difference in your life. Share your thoughts and experiences in the comments below. We love hearing from you and building this community of thoughtful individuals. Your stories inspire us all. If Arthur's journey touched your heart and reminded you of the enduring power of honesty, please give this video a thumbs up. Liking the video helps us reach more people who might need to hear this message of hope and integrity. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel if you haven't already. By subscribing, you become a part of our growing family, and you'll be notified every time we release a new story that aims to inspire, challenge, and connect us all. Hit that notification bell so you don't miss out. And if you know someone who needs a little reminder about the power of doing what's right, or who might be feeling overlooked in their own journey, please share this video with them. A single act of kindness, a moment of integrity, can truly change a life, and perhaps even change the world. Thank you for watching, and remember, your integrity is your most valuable asset. Keep shining your light,